The end of 2012 brought incredible uncertainty both inside and outside of agriculture. Ag waited for movement on a farm bill the entire year, including a missed deadline at the end of September. Fiscal cliff discussions filled markets with uncertainty, which spread into the markets for ag commodities. Now into 2013, the industry is keeping its eye on potential regulations, and as Brad Lubben said when we talked at the end of December, there are also other federal fiscal issues to keep in mind.
Well, clearly one of the issues ag will look at in 2013 is, regardless of whether we solve the fiscal cliff in December, regardless of whether we attach the farm bill to it or not, we still have tremendous fiscal issues to address in D.C. in the coming year. Continued budget discipline could affect spending for some favored ag programs, including crop insurance, but it more substantially might affect financial markets and what confidence the financial markets have in the U.S. government to maintain any fiscal discipline and budget compromise. Without that financial market confidence, you'll see interest rates react, and you'll see production sectors like agriculture that have enjoyed very favorable interest rates for capital needs over the last few years, having to respond to potentially a changed financial market.
A lot of play there as well in overseas markets when you talk about exports and the strength of the dollar as well.
Sure, absolutely. Any sort of financial uncertainty also leads to uncertainty in terms of the value of the dollar. The value of the dollar can sometimes play bad economic news that weakens the dollar, actually sometimes makes our commodities more competitive in overseas markets. But financial uncertainty in general hurts market demand globally.
What about regulations? What can you look for there for agriculture?
Well, clearly that's the other big item on ag's radar is where is ag relative to regulation. Once you put a farm bill to bed, the ag committees will spend a substantial amount of their time reviewing and monitoring regulatory activity. And ag has certainly been looking at a laundry list of proposed policies, everything from environmental regs on air and water and biofuels to labor regs on child labor on farm operations that were killed in 2012, to other pending regulations on everything from biotech crop development to other environmental issues. Ag is always watching and leery of the reach of the regulatory agenda.
Are there a few big ones that agriculture thinks it might lose or thinks that it's not going to end up in their favor?
Well, I think clearly there are some big issues that stay on the radar relating to environmental policy. The potential regulation of greenhouse gases and the potential extension of those proposed regulations right now on large stationary emitters like power plants. When and if that transitions to other sources. Is agriculture a source of emissions that becomes part of a regulated industry? Back when legislation was proposed in Congress in 2010, ag was a potential provider of carbon sequestration and maybe a seller of credits. But in a regulatory environment, do we regulate emissions? Do we license credits? Those are big issues that are somewhere down the road here yet, but clearly on the radar.
Let's talk outside of Washington, something like animal welfare. Is it just going to get louder in 2013?
Well, it's hard to imagine the momentum slowing down here. And the momentum has been not in the policy arena or the ballot box. In fact, the momentum at the ballot box in November was sort of a pushback against further animal welfare regs or further food labeling regs like the GM labeling in California. But absent ballot box initiatives, absent activity in state houses or in Congress, we still see a policy agenda on animal welfare or GM labeling. We see it pushed in the social agenda, the social arena. We see it pushed in the market arena, the corporate boardroom. The number of corporations that have adopted some form of an animal welfare, either labeling regime or sourcing requirement, has mushroomed in the last year. And that's a policy issue that clearly affects ag that's not happening anywhere with a public sort of review and vote on it.